guys, no introduction. Keith needs no introduction in the Cape especially, and on the deep sea side, I'm sure everybody, especially in this area, will know him. If you don't, for how many years have you specialized in deep sea, Keith?
Yes, hello to you, Andre. Probably since 1980.
No.
So it's a bit of time. So
It's a lifetime.
started in the 1980s when prior to going to the Defence Force, I used to fish sort of semi-commercially on the deck boats in town, and then the era came forward where the ski boats started being introduced into our fisheries and started fishing, probably about 1980 on the ski boats, and been through about 15 boats of our own in the years, from monohulls to catamarans to wet boats to hot boats to. So been around and still currently in the game. We have our own 2 boats at the moment. We've got 2 very nice boats that we fish on, and it's our love. We're Cape Townians, and it's what we do.
No.
Yeah.
And on the deep sea side specifically, obviously Cape Town, mainly the tuna yellowtail.
Yeah, those are our two sort of pelagic species. Is the yellowtail, which is our inshore fishery, and then of course the tuna fishery, which is probably frequented by more boats than most places in the world, because we've got a very rich fishery and we're very blessed to have the fishery we have. So that's sort of in a nutshell.
Okay, and then obviously the snook, the Cape snook comes through in season, and then that becomes kind of a main thing everyone aims at, as well as the cob side. There's people, obviously in False Bay, there's quite a bit of cob and bank fishing, bottom fishing, all of that happens in between.
So we're very blessed in the sense that we have 2 oceans. Living in Cape Town, we've got False Bay and we've got the Atlantic Ocean on the Table Bay side. So irrespective of the seasons that we have, whether we're in the winter, in the summer, we've always got something happening.
Yes.
So in the summer, we've got the cob fishing and the geelback fishing in False Bay. Our seasonal sort of yellowtail fishery has changed somewhat over the years for reasons we blame global warming, whatever it might be, it doesn't matter. But our seasons go right through the year. So whether we have a little bit of a winter season in the summer, then it attracts the winter fish like the snook.
Yes.
So if we have excessive northwesters, we'll have the snook come into False Bay. If we have southeasters, we'll have the fish coming into the Atlantic seaboard. So we're very lucky in that there's never really only one coastal weather that affects our fishery. We have two sort of systems. So we have the bottom fishing, which is all our bronze bream, our red Roman, our red steenbras, which has now frequented the bay again after many years.
I've seen some stump nose.
Yes, stump nose. And then on the pelagic and the predator type fishery, we've got the cob, we've got the snook, we've got the yellowtail, we've got the bonitos, we've got katonkel, and then of course our offshore fishery is the longfin and the yellowfin tuna. And for the lucky few that do go, the marlin have also sort of frequented our
swordfish, they've
coast
been
now.
gone for a while, eh?
Swordfish have been gone a while. The guys in the early days, the Nectar Cocks of the world, that sort of pioneered the fishery, and the guys from Natal, the Rosavera twins, and those boys that sort of made it famous. There's still a few guys now that still pursue the fishery, but I think with the expense now that we have to go and target the species, not many guys, and it's a very specialized fishery. You've got to sort of really know what you're doing.
And the old legends of guys getting bluefin from Cape Point, from the shore, or seeing them and catching yellowfin off the shore.
we had probably 2 years ago now. We were very blessed. It was over December. Remember in December, because Christmas Day you go fishing, and not many people go fishing on Christmas Day, so it gives the ocean sort of to a few of us. But it was probably the first time in 20-25 years that they actually caught the yellowfin from Rooikrans, which is a very well-known rock area in the Cape Point Reserve, where they target the yellowtail from the shore. It's only one of very few places in the world.
And they got yellowfin there.
And the yellowfin came in, and they managed to hook a few, and they managed to land a few. So it hasn't happened since, but I suppose that's the way the fishery is. It surprises you every time.
And there's a remarkable fishery, the whole False Bay, and I would assume Harmony Reef and all of that plays a big role in that actually forms a nice home and breeding grounds for a lot of species. And the temperature difference of False Bay makes a huge difference with the steenbras and everything coming in there.
Certainly. So we mentioned earlier on we have the two different coasts. We also have within the False Bay region itself, you have the northwesters, which affects the east side of the bay, and you have the southeasters, which affects the west side of the bay. So you have the strand reefs, which work when there's a strong southerly onshore wind. It warms the water, it colours the water, it brings in your elf, it brings in your garrick, it brings in your cob. And then when we start transgressing into the autumn periods where you have the more offshore conditions and it cools and clears the water, you then have the blacktail, you have the stump nose as you mentioned, and then of course you also have that time of the year you have the notorious white steenbras, which is also becoming a little bit of just a topic of conversation more as opposed to a fish that people are now freely catching because they're just being overexploited.
Unfortunately, I see a lot of that on the netting side of things, but different topic.
Different topic.
Yeah, what I want to ask you is then, obviously that type of offshore fishing you find in Cape Town. Then you look at Langebaan, which is also a unique fishery in the lagoon.
Yeah.
Very similar type of fishing than False Bay.
So Langebaan being an inshore estuary lagoon, there's always the argument as to is it a lagoon, is it an estuary? It's actually turned a little bit around in the last few years. It always used to be a venue where the guys would go in the summer and they would fish for the white stumpnose. And you used to actually have guys fishing commercially for the white stumpnose. But through the year, that migration of those white stumpnose shoals have sort of not been as frequent as in the past. So it's now become a venue for the guys that live there. They do very well. They catch lots of big yellowtail in the system. There's some beautiful leeries, as we call them in Cape Town, garrick from further north. And then, of course, you also get the gilbeck.
And the cob, yeah.
You get the cob. It's also frequented by the rock and surf anglers for big bronze whaler shark fishing. So it's not only the lagoon as we knew it in the past, where you'd go and catch a couple of white stumpnose and a piece of mussel. It now has all the species of fish that you can catch, whether you're in the False Bay region or in the Table Bay region. So it's just for the guys that you find there's a few chaps that are sort of targeting certain species, and they've sort of, I would say, they've honed their skills now. So it's a place for those that are coming to Cape Town and you can't get out into the ocean. It's always an alternative venue if you have a boat and you want to go do some other fishing in an area that's nice and secluded, and hopefully the southeast is not blowing too hard, so you can sort of fish it most times.
And then all of that extends to Strays Bay, another very popular fishery there where you can basically add striped marlin. The odd wahoo comes out there, yes. And I've heard some dorado. I've seen some dorado in the area.
Correct. As you'll know, we've just been very fortunate to fish the annual marlin tournament from Strays Bay, and there was a few black marlin caught, there was striped marlin caught. We were fortunate enough to catch a few dorado. There's some katonkel, and then of course from the Cape Coast, if you still want to include it in the Cape Coast, it's the area where we catch the much bigger yellowtail than we do here, up to sort of 20 kilos. Very popular destination for the commercial boats when the yellowtail come onto the Pioneer or the Vlakbank or the 12-mile bank. The commercials will fall onto the venue and can fish for 2 weeks. At night time, conditions are right also. It's a notorious piece of coastline because of the shallow water and your currents, and of course the Cape Town weather that we have. They do a lot of gilbeck fishing, and recently the big red steenbras have also made a turn. So at the end of the day, for the guys that want to go and target the big red steenbras, we have that fishery too now, which was mostly known to the sort of East Cape coast, not so much the Cape coast to be one of them.
Everything's moving a bit closer to Cape Town, even the people in the country, but the fish are kind of moving. Yeah.
We see that. So I think yourself that's been around and you've fished many places around Africa and the world, I think it's within a sort of 300-kilometer area of Cape Town itself, we've literally got most non-tropical species that you can catch. And for guys that are avid anglers, guys that are competitive anglers, guys that are just sort of real social, the spectrum is there. There's no excuse to. So we often say, we get so caught up in the yellowtail fishery, but we've got all the other fisheries that we can frequent. So we're very blessed in that to be able to live here. The traffic gets a little bit more in the morning when you want to go fishing because of the influx of the people, but they come here for a reason.
Well, thank you, Keith. There you have it, guys. One word sums it up: privileged. And Keith, guys, Keith is here at Jacita in Cape Town in the northern suburbs. currently in Brackenfell.
Brackenfell, yeah.
And from August, looking at moving just 5 k's away to Durbanville
Yeah.
side. So whenever you're in the area or ever planning anything to Cape Town, Jacita, Keith, the people to talk to if you want advice on fishing here, and even on the rock and surf side, they're all jacked. You did bass as well. We're not going to go into that topic because that's quite
That's another
lengthy
week's
as well.
story.
Yeah. But thank you very much for sharing all of that. And it's a world of knowledge just in this man standing next to me, and a privilege to talk to you this morning as well.
Thanks for the opportunity, and yes, for the folks that want to pop in, you know, Jacques and them have put a lot of effort into the store. It's
fantastic store.
Looking forward to the moving, and looking forward to even providing the anglers even with more opportunities to fish for the fish that we're blessed to have on our coast.
Thank you very much.